Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Leadership Lessons from Ted Lasso. We're in the closing stages of this now, Al. I think we've got two left.
Wow.
So, again, just for those listening, we're your hosts. It's Chris Baker and Al Rattan. And today we're actually diving deep into the theme of mentorship and personal growth. And we're looking at it in the context of Ted Lasso's leadership style. I know this is something that obviously Al and I are very passionate about and believe everyone needs. So it should be a good lesson.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it for sure. And you're right. You and I both have invested tens of thousands of dollars in mentorship over our life and over the last couple of years, because we're wanting to grow ourselves so we can better serve those that we get to serve, and we have the privilege of serving. But so in the previous episodes of our series, we explored how Ted Lasso, despite his unconventional approach to coaching, has really managed to transform this struggling soccer team and positively impact the lives of the players. Now, today we're going to focus on how Ted serves as a mentor, not only in helping his team members develop their skills, but also encouraging personal growth and self-discovery.
Yeah, and this is huge. So as usual, we've got 6 teaching points, and then we've got an activity or assignment for you to do at the end. And some of these teaching points, you may say, "Oh, we've talked on this before," and we probably have, right? Because they all intertwine. And I don't think we can pay too much attention to some of these things. And the first point is one of those: leading with empathy. You know, we've talked about that before, and Ted Lasso shows us that to be an effective mentor, you need to truly understand the people you're guiding. You know, he takes the time to get to know each player on a personal level, to understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and what motivates them. And it's Ted's empathy that allows him to connect with his team on a deeper level, fostering trust and respect. So a question to ask yourself is, how much do you know about your team, your peers, your leader, your friends?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How much do you understand about them and what motivates them? Because motivation is different for each one of us.
Absolutely. And if you get to understand your team members on a personal level, you're going to know what motivates them. And then you
Right.
can, use that to help keep them fired up. And I like
Yeah.
Chris, a couple of years ago, I heard Chris Hogan speak, and I use this over and over again because I think they're just fantastic questions. But he said he asks on a consistent basis, he asks his team 3 questions. And question number 1 is, how are you doing? And he doesn't let them settle for oh, I'm fine, I'm good, and I'm okay. The
Hmm.
program response we all give when someone asks us that. And the second
Yeah.
question was, what are you working on? And the third was, how can I help? And he
Yeah.
said that has built an incredible team culture within his
Yeah.
organization. And I think that shows his
Great.
empathy by really wanting to take the time to say, how are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I always start most of my one-on-ones with, what's fun and exciting in your life at the moment. All right. So
That's
it's
right.
not how are you doing is basically a closed-ended question. They're going to say,
Mm-hmm.
all right, or whatever. But if
Yeah.
you ask them to expand on it, right, and you use the fun and exciting, so you emphasize in the positive, you're setting it out on the right framework, right? And
Absolutely.
I was telling someone the other day, it takes a while sometimes for people to open up and get to know you and build that trust. I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing my current position for 2 years this weekend, and it's only just now some of the team are only just starting to open up. Some opened up right away, right? But I found out things about 2 of my team in the last week or 2 weeks that I never knew before. And it's just because we've built that trust and built that connection, and been really working on this empathy as well. So keep working on that.
Yeah. And I think one of the key words you used there was built the trust. It
Right.
does take time. We can't
Yeah.
expect people to trust us instantly.
Uh,
We need time to build that.
yeah.
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 So our
Yeah.
teaching point number 2 is and it's another crucial lesson that we learn from Ted, and that's the importance of encouraging self-reflection.
Hmm.
I know I use this, Chris. I know you probably you're very diligent at using this
Yeah.
self-reflection in your own
Yeah.
personal life. Now, Ted doesn't just give orders; he asks questions that prompt his players to think about their actions and their decisions. And by encouraging self-reflection, Ted actually helps his team members grow not only as athletes, but as individuals. And I think that goes back to showing his empathy as well, right? He asks these questions to help them grow in their personal and professional lives. People without empathy are going to just be wanting them to perform better at work and don't really care what happens. Keep your personal life out of work. And that's an old school way of doing business. And it's not what people are desiring today. They want that connection.
Yeah, 100%. And that self-reflection is huge. And it reminds me, as we think about this, it reminds me of the saying we use in the business trainings that we do, what you can't manage what you don't measure. Right. And self-reflection is the same thing, because your self-reflection is a measurement of how am I doing, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. What's working? How can I replicate that? What's not working? Why isn't it working? And how can I overcome that? And then you can manage and change that, adjust, right? But if you don't actually take that time to measure how you're doing, you can't manage it. So self-reflection should be a daily activity. So teaching point number 3, Ted Lasso also excels in providing constructive feedback. All right. And the word I love in this is feedback. Most people, when they talk about it, they say, oh, constructive criticism. Well, that has got a negative connotation. Absolutely. Because criticism is generally like you're doing something wrong. Whereas feedback is everything.
Exactly. I heard somebody say this once, and I know you actually corrected me last week even on it, because again, we get into habits of saying things like this. But what does construct mean? It means to build up, right? And criticize means to tear down. You can't do both. Yeah. You can't do both.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, Ted doesn't shy away from addressing mistakes, but he does go into it in a way that is supportive and constructive. And this approach helps his players learn and improve without feeling demoralized.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And again, you can look at this in your own situations. When have people given you feedback that you really see as criticism, and they're not recognizing the good they're doing, and how does that make you feel? Right. And then make sure that you're not doing that to other people. Right? And this again could be your kids, could be your spouse, it could be your friends, your siblings, your parents, could be your employees, it could be your peers, could be anybody, right?
I think here you need to exercise your empathy again. Put yourself in their shoes for a moment. How do you feel when you're getting feedback in that may be negative? In tone, because maybe your performance hasn't been where it should be. How do you feel? So put yourself in that position when you're giving that feedback as well. Yeah. Our 4th teaching point is about fostering a growth mindset. Now, this, again, something that you and I are passionate about, something that we've invested in, something that we're continually to invest ourselves in by reading and studying and learning and growing and being around like-minded individuals that are stretching us. But this growth mindset is so important. And Ted believes that in the power of positive attitude and resilience. And I think those really do go hand in hand, right? The positive attitude and resilience. And he teaches his team that failure is just a part of the journey, and that it's an opportunity. Again, if you constantly have the negative mindset, then failure is going to be a negative thing, right? And it's going to drag you down. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt sometimes, but there is an opportunity in every failure. And we've talked about that many times. Yeah. And this mindset shift is not only benefits the team out on the field, but again, in their personal lives.
Yeah, it's huge. And here's the truth, right? When you move out of your comfort zone and you're growing, you're stretching yourself, you will fail. Right, but you're only failing, and failure is only final when you quit. Right? And failure is good, because if you don't fail, you're not trying hard enough. Right? Yeah. So you're not pushing yourself hard enough. So look at it as a temporary setback and a learning opportunity, and then pick yourself up, adjust, and go again. And next time you'll be stronger. Right. But almost look for that failure, because that means that you're learning and you're growing.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So teaching point number 5, and this again, we've talked about this, but it's so important. And Ted Lasso leads by example. He doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. He demonstrates the values and behaviors that he expects from his team members, but he's showing you, right? He's not just telling you. And this authenticity is a powerful motivator and basically inspires his players to give their best, right? Which is what we all should be aiming for.
Exactly. What's that quote? You always use it. People do what people see, not what.
Yeah, people don't do what people say, they do what people see, right? So, or people do what people see, not what they say. Yeah. And it's true. You know, how many times have you seen it from a leader or you know, anybody, right, that is in a leadership position? They tell you to do one thing, but you observe what they're doing and they're doing something completely different. So what happens is we don't listen to what they're telling us, we do what they're showing us. And that's the same with kids, right? You can tell your kids to eat all their dinner, right? Or don't use bad language. But then if you use bad language and they copy you, you can't tell them off, right?
No.
So be aware of what you're doing and lead by example.
It's called, you know, you're being hypocritical, really, if you're saying one and do something else, right? So
exactly.
our last teaching point for the evening, Ted Lasso celebrates individuality, right? He recognizes that each player is unique and each person on your team is unique, and he encourages them to embrace their individual strengths and their quirks, right? And by doing so, he creates an environment where everyone is feeling valued and empowered.
Yeah. And this is the true meaning of the word inclusive, right? Nobody feels excluded. Everybody feels part of the team. Everybody feels valued. And as you say, they're empowered, so they'll share their input and they'll grow together.
Exactly.
And that's what you should be looking for. You know, we look at this with DISC that we teach. It's the same thing, right? You want a well-rounded team, but you also, as a leader, you need to be able to communicate with everyone on your team in the language that they communicate in, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've covered these essential teaching points. Again, you know, there's 6 key points. We encourage you to go back and listen again. So let's move on to an activity that will help you to apply these lessons to your own leadership journey. So we call this activity self-reflective leadership journal. All right. So first of all, what you're going to do is get yourself a notebook or open a digital document if you prefer to do that on your iPad or computer. I want you to write down the names of the people that you lead or mentor, whether it's in a professional or a personal capacity. Then for each person, jot down their strengths, their weaknesses, and what motivates them. When you do this, try to see them as individuals with unique qualities, right? And again, this is where we're applying the platinum rule. So don't look at it as to you, look at it as to them, right? Reflect on recent interactions with each person that you've got on that list. Were there moments where you could have provided more constructive feedback or encouraged self-reflection? Consider your own leadership style. Are there areas where you can improve in leading with empathy, fostering a growth mindset, or celebrating individuality? And then finally, set a goal for yourself based on what you've learned from Ted Lasso's mentorship style. You know, how can you better support and encourage the personal growth of those you lead, including yourself? I would put on there. Right?
Exactly.
And if you've got questions on this, or if you want to share it, come and join our Facebook groups. You know, we've got the Raise Your Bars Personal Growth Solutions. We've also got the brand new legacy creators, the Raise Your Bars legacy creators for men of 40 plus that, again, are maybe feeling a little bit lost. So this is a great activity for there. And you come and join in those groups and you share your things. Al and I will comment and we'll share back with you as well. We'll help you.
Absolutely. We look forward to hearing from you. And well, folks, there you have it. Our exploration of mentorship and personal growth through the lens of Ted Lasso's leadership style. And remember, leadership is not just about achieving goals. It's about helping others reach their full potential.
So true. So true. So listen, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Leadership Lessons from Ted Lasso. We hope you found today's episode insightful. and that now you're inspired to take these lessons and apply them to your own leadership journey. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll delve into another aspect of Ted's coaching brilliance. Until then, be kind, be empathetic, and lead with heart, just like Ted Lasso.
Thanks for tuning in.